Hey guys, I hope everyone is doing well today. It is Thursday and we are talking to Miss Marie here. She's awesome. I love these Favrils, I'm telling you. If you guys, they don't lay big eggs and they only lay an egg like every other day, but for entertainment value, they are worth it. Salmon Favrils. I don't know if, I'm sure there's other breeds of Favrils. These are the salmon variety. They're freaking awesome. I love them. JG and Marie. All right. So thank you to everybody that is here. Thank you to everyone that has subscribed. 332. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I do greatly appreciate it. This is Friends of the Feather. I am a crazy woman that talks to my chickens and to you. I wanted to talk today because I watched a couple videos this morning, and I want everyone to know that there is hope on the horizon. I really do feel that way, and this is why. The first video I watched was with Tim Pool and these two. It was one of his culture war episodes that he did. It was about the MH370 flight that went missing like 10 years ago, the Malaysian flight. That episode is fascinating to me. There's a lot of, they touched on a lot of subjects there that I'm very interested in. Of course, I am no physicist, I am no scientist, I have no formal education in any of that, and a lot of it is way over my head. But I do like to listen to people talk about things like that. So I was listening in, and they mentioned something in that video that I heard in another video that I watched after that. But they mentioned in there being scientists and being of, facts and logic and reason. One of the scientists mentioned that he has seen God in his work, right? And I think that's pretty profound for a scientist who is a self-proclaimed atheist or agnostic or whatever, that, they just didn't really believe, but they have seen God in the work that they do, right? Which in my mind, that means that whatever work they were doing, where they actually caught a glimpse of that, that means that whatever they were doing was 100% true, right? Because God is truth. So, I think that whenever someone proclaims that they're probably getting pretty close to whole truth. But in that, they were talking about the CERN, the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland, and I was thinking about, because they mentioned something, right? And Tim Pool gave this really brilliant analogy, and he said that it's like primitive man before fire was invented. There's a guy sitting in the woods. He finds these two really cool, interesting rocks. He starts banging them together, and then they make sparks. So he keeps banging them together, and they make more sparks. Well, eventually he creates fire and burns down his entire village, killing himself and all of his people. The knowledge of fire was discovered and then immediately lost, right? Well, he didn't know what he was doing, right? Obviously, he's a primitive man. He had no idea what he was doing. He didn't know what he was he didn't know what he was playing with, right? And because of that, he ended up, they killed themselves. That's what excuse me. That's what the things that are happening right now make me think of, right? Because we think about the Hokey Pokey, right? There are no long-term studies on what these things are going to be doing to humans. We have no idea. We really don't know what we've done, right? We have no idea. I'm sure someone somewhere probably thinks that they know what's going on, but we really don't. I mean, there's probably going to be things come out of this that the people who think they know what was going to happen, it's completely like, they're like, oh wow, okay, I never thought that was going to happen. That happens all the time, right? So it makes me think of another the next video. Brings me to the next video that I watched, which was the Tucker Carlson interview that he did. I think it was 2 days ago, with Dr. Willie Soon. He is a former Harvard professor. He I think he was talking about climate. He's a scientist, a very, very smart man. I don't know what his specialty is. I missed that part. But he was talking about the climate hoax, right? And he's a very, 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 very intelligent man. It's a very good interview. I would highly recommend watching both of these things. But Willie Soon was talking about the same thing. He said the exact same thing that the guy on the Culture War episode said. He said that he had seen God in his work. And I thought that it was really interesting that they both mentioned that. And two, another thing that was kind of a theme of both videos was that I think we're doing a lot of stuff, we being humanity, not you, me, but we as like a species, are doing things that we don't really know what we're doing. Like we don't know what we're messing with. We don't know what we're messing with this Large Hadron Collider. We don't know what we're messing with when we go injecting all these strange things into people. You know, we don't know what we're doing. The same thing with the climate thing. He was talking, and I'll tell you what, his explanation of the climate debacle is brilliant. I'm telling you, you guys should take it in if you haven't already. It aired the 9th, I believe, on X, formerly known as Twitter. Kind of reminds me of how Prince changed his name to like that weird symbol, and it was like, it didn't have like a word. He just became a symbol instead of a name. He was like, my name is now insert strange symbol. That's what it feels like with Twitter and X. But yeah, so both episodes absolutely wonderful. I totally agree with the man on his summation of the whole climate thing. I totally agree. I totally agree that with everything they said, basically. It's all stuff that I think all the time. It's stuff that I think of while I'm watching things. It's things that places my mind goes to that I'm like, oh, you're crazy. But, you know, I don't think I am. I really don't. And also the story of that flight, the story of that Malaysian flight and what happened to it and the different possibilities and theories, fascinating. I'm telling you, it just absolutely fascinated me. You guys might click it on and say, my God, this is the most boring thing I've ever watched in my life. What is wrong with this lady? You know, fair enough. But I was quite entertained with it, quite taken by it. And I just, like I said, I love listening to conversations like that. So good job, Tim Pool. Good guests. I was a little upset with Tim probably playing devil's advocate and pushing back a lot on what they were proposing and what they were saying. I didn't quite understand why his pushback was quite so hard when he invited them to his show, you know? So I was like, well, why did you invite him if you think what they're saying is complete bullshit? You know? I don't know. It just seemed like a strange amount of pushback on what they were saying. I don't know. It seemed odd to invite a guest to talk about something and then argue with them and kind of just tell them to their face that they're insane. I don't know. Seemed odd, but it was a good episode. The guys pushed through and dealt with Tim's sour attitude in the appropriate way. I felt they just pushed right through and kept explaining themselves and said, believe it if you want, don't if you don't, and you know, we'll call it a day. So very good stuff. And the reason that I came out of those things with hope for the future is because of what they said about finding God and what they were doing. You know, like I said, I do believe that when people see that, when they say that they're on the right track. They're probably going where they need to go. And you know, I'm not a religious person, but I am rather spiritual. I have a pretty unique view of God and the afterlife and that whole thing, I think. Because the thing that I kind of... all religions have basically the same tenets. You know, they all basically tell you the same thing. Be a good person. You know, don't steal. Don't, you know, sleep with your neighbor's wife. Don't steal your neighbor's things. Don't, you know, want after your neighbor's things. Whatever. You know, the Ten Commandments are basically the same across all religions except for one. You know, bonus points if you can name that one. But, you know, it's just, you know, treat people like you want to be treated. Be a good person, right? So it comes to my mind that those principles weren't just born out of the ether. You know, I mean, I think there's something very fundamental and primal and true and real about the basic tenets of, you know, the Ten Commandments, which again, it's not just the Ten Commandments. It's the way that I can easily describe what I'm saying. It's, you know, Buddhism, Shintoism, you know, Taoism, all of them. They all have basically the same be a good person rules, you know. So it makes me think that none of them are wrong. You know, it's just, it depends on how you want to perceive it. And the other thing is that they all tell you that is that you aren't God. There is a power higher than you, and that is very, very evident. And I think it's dangerous when we run around trying to play God, and it feels like there's a lot of that going around. People that think that just because we're here and we can manipulate things, that we have to, and that something that is manipulated by man is somehow just better because we had our hands in it somehow. I think that's what's kind of gotten obfuscated through like the food industry. We think that we have to somehow manufacture the food to make the food good. You know, we can't just pull an egg from a chicken's butt and then put it in a frying pan and fry it. It has to be washed. It has to be pasteurized. It has to be, you know, it has to go through a cleansing process or we're going to die. You know, I really don't think that's the case. So I eat chicken eggs all the time that go straight from chicken butt to my frying pan. So, you know, and I'm good. We're all good. Nobody's dying. But for whatever reason, we've been deceived into thinking that if it's not processed, if humans have not processed it and, you know, inspected it and cleaned it, that we're going to die. And I don't think that's it. Other thing too is, you know, we got to get rid of this fear of death. I mean, nobody wants to die. I don't have a death wish. I don't want to die, but it's going to happen. No one gets out alive. So, you know, you got to come to terms with that and be ready and just go out and do it. I think that's why kids have no sense of adventure, because they've been scared to death. They think that when they die, it's just going to end, you know, and there's nothing more. Well, I just don't think that anything could be farther from the case. So, all right, that's my rant today. Go watch those videos if you have the time. They're kind of lengthy. The one with Tucker, I think, is like 45 minutes maybe, and the one with Tim is rather long. It's like 2.5 hours, maybe 3. I don't know, but there's some really good points made in those videos. I put links, or not links. I put a list below of the people I watch and where I get my information. If anybody's new to being awake and is watching this and is like, where does this lady find all this information? I put some links down in there. If you guys have any people that you watch and stand by and trust and believe in, you know, please share their names with me so I can maybe expand. There's a lot of people that I watch that I didn't include on that list. And also, I want to go ahead and just put out there that just because I put somebody down there does not mean that I agree with 100% of what they say. Everything that I listen to, there is no one that tells the gospel truth, or there's no one out there that conveys the way I feel 100%. So every person that's on that list, there's some things that I disagree with them on, there's some things I agree with them on, but as a whole, we have the same basic frame of mind, and, you know, I feel like we're all rowing in the same direction. So, thank you to those that are watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, make sure you subscribe. Let's get to 500. We're so close. I can't believe that. That just blows my mind, but here we are. All right. We'll get Jack to take us out. Take us out, Jack. All right, there you go. Couldn't have said it better myself. See you later, guys.